We're live.
We're live.
How you doing?
Great. How about you?
Excellent. All right. So today we talk about Law 43 of the 48 Laws of Power. We're coming to an end.
Oh gosh.
Law 43. Work on the hearts and minds of others. Coercion creates a reaction that will eventually work against you. You must seduce others into wanting to move in your direction. A person you have seduced becomes your loyal pawn. And the way to seduce others is to operate on their individual psychologies and weaknesses. Soften up the resistance by working on their emotions, playing on what they hold dear and what they fear. Ignore the hearts and minds of others, and they will grow to hate you. And that's Law 43 of the 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene. Work on the hearts and minds of others. It's a pretty lengthy one. He goes pretty deep in it. Um, the first thing I was trying to think is, where have I seen this in my life? Where have I seen somebody been able to either seduce somebody into doing something, or the opposite, which Robert Greene says is just, the other person feels like you don't even care about them. You don't care how they feel. You have no interest. And so the one thing that came to mind was, in a business environment that I was in, there was a manager that told their staff, if you meet the goals that we've set out for the office, you get to choose basically what your reward would be.
Wow.
And the reason that I feel that this goes into this law is because he actually was hearing out the staff. Typically, if you met the goal, you would give them a money bonus.
Okay.
But what he did was he said, look, if you meet your goals, you can leave early on a Friday. And he realized that the reason that came about is because a lot of people wanted to take their family out early for dinner, or wanted to take their family maybe to Disneyland or whatever, or maybe a doctor appointment, and they were working all the time. And by giving them the option of, look, we can give you like a money bonus, or if you want, you can have half a day off, or you can even work and get a full day off if you hit these numbers. And I thought that was really cool because he's listening to that manager is listening to what the people's needs are, and seducing them in that fashion. And when you do that, Robert Greene says that a person you have seduced becomes your loyal pawn. In
Right.
this case, in this business setting, those people want to work for you and they want to do well because they feel that they're getting something and they're heard. And so, anyways, I thought I'd open with that because I thought that was pretty powerful.
That's super powerful.
How about you? What do you think about this law? Have you seen it take place?
This law is fantastic. Like, well, those that follow us already know that what we think about Robert Greene, you know? We don't agree totally, but man, just about. At least for me, I have a great deal of respect for the man. But while you were speaking, you know what came to mind?
Hmm.
We were last week, just last week, we went to a business meeting where there was like, let's say 85, 90 people there. And one gentleman came to us. We had a lot of interactions because in this particular meeting, you're there to, pass out business cards, this and that. But one particular person came up to us, and handed me a business card because I've known him for some time. But it was so one-sided, it seemed to be. This particular person, she was not interested in uh, anything that I had to say or you had to say. This particular person handed out a business card and was there for a very brief and moment, and failed to, like the law says, seduce us, listen to us, cajole us into, hey, how you doing? Whatever that. No, it was just one thing. That particular person said, hey, you guys are into this and you need roof repair, whatever the case was.
Yeah, he was just selling their services.
That's it.
and they were not at all interested at all, not even pretending to be interested in anything about how you've been the last 10 years that they haven't seen you or something like that. It
Right,
was all purely, I can do this for you, I can do this for you as a service, thinking as a business. But
right. And he said, so the question becomes, is it what's more powerful, persuasion or manipulation? Because what he's saying is coerce the person
yeah.
into the direction that you are following. Not, no, I'm sorry, not coerce the person. Coercion is not good.
No, no, no. Law
Persuade,
43 says coerce.
coerce, right? Okay,
Yeah,
well,
law
it
40,
says,
it says coerce. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I apologize.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
He
It's
says coercion creates a reaction that works against
correct.
you. I apologize.
So it's not coercion.
No.
He's trying to tell you, hey, look,
Seduce.
persuade, seduce. There you go.
He's using the word seduce. And I got confused there because I looked up the word coercion, and the definition to coerce is to persuade an unwilling person to do something by using force or threats. That's what coercion is.
Force or threats. It's not good. It's going to eventually backfire.
Yes.
Okay?
Yeah.
So if you use persuasion
Yeah.
to try to show them the light or whatever it is that you see in this final product, you might sway them to come along in your direction.
Right.
And then that's when the law says you have a loyal
Pawn.
pawn, a loyal follower.
And when he says seduce, he's not talking about, like a romantic
Right, right,
relationship. He's talking about you when somebody feels heard, that's a form of seduction because they feel that you actually care about what they have to say.
right.
And that's one thing that there in it seems to be lacking somewhat with some people, that the skill set
This
of being able to actually listen. And what he's saying is, look, you don't have to actually care, but at least make the other person think you care. Now, that's where with Robert Greene, sometimes I say, okay, some of this stuff, I don't know that it's the way I want to live my life, but I understand that there could be somebody out there who is making me think that they actually care about what I'm saying. They don't care, but they're making me feel like they care. And that's enough, according to the 48 laws of power. He's saying that's enough to get you in terms of, keeping people, staying in
engaged.
power.
Uh-huh.
Because he brought up Louis the 15th, who, even to his servants and the staff and everybody, made them at least feel heard and like they mattered. That's what he was saying.
Well, I look at it a little bit different
Okay.
because as you get older, and as you well know, I'm a lot older than you. I'm 65, so I double your age. Um, the way to find, let's say, peace of mind within that, because you don't want to become cynical, okay? You don't want to say, "Oh yeah, I do care," or make someone feel you do care when you don't. So the way I look at things is if you put yourselves in the shoes of the person that you're talking to, okay,
Mm-hmm.
whatever that person is telling you is of importance to them. And then while you're engaged with that person, whatever time span that is, have that also as a priority. This is important to this person. I don't really care about this, but you know what is important to this person? Then you determine if you want to give it your time of day. And if you do, then you make that person feel okay with it,
Right.
that you listen to it. And then when you walk away, you still have your own ideas on things. And sometimes, if there's a discussion, you could say, look, I don't totally agree with you, but that's the beauty of this country. We can, you know, disagree with each other, but we're talking to each other.
I agree with you,
Hmm.
and I like that because you're saying actually be interested and be genuine with him.
While you're with them, if it's important to them, you
Make
can,
it important to you.
at that moment, um, I doubt that someone will corner you and say, "Do you agree with me?" or whatever. And then if you want to stay true to yourself, then at that point you say, not totally or whatever. It depends. A lot of time. I heard this the other day, and it's important because you don't want to engage in a debate with everybody in your life. It's not worth it. Okay, and I heard this: the bees don't waste their time trying to convince the flies that honey is better than crap. You see what I'm saying? The bees don't waste their time trying to convince the flies that honey is better than crap.
Yeah.
You know? So
Yeah, there's no need to.
there's no,
But in terms of um in terms of this law, work on the hearts and minds of others. I agree with what you're saying. Try and put yourself in their shoes and actually be genuine and care. But
yeah,
if you don't care, if you're not that person, at least pretend you do.
yeah, that's what the law says.
That's what the law says. And I think your life, personally, I believe you'll have a better outcome in terms of working with other people, and because we are creatures of
Oh, I agree. Yeah,
social creatures.
right, right.
Yeah. So if everybody thinks this guy doesn't care anything about me, they're just out for themselves.
Well, that's
That's
how I felt in this meeting.
the way the person approached you.
Absolutely. I mean, he walked away and
They're not going to get business from
they're
you.
not going to get business from me.
And
I'll tell
it's
you that.
you can say that their efforts are almost futile,
Most likely, yeah. And they're not aware of it.
and they're not aware
They're
of it.
not aware of it. This
Yeah.
is a skill that gets developed, you know?
I saw a person that was a little beat down when I saw that individual. That's what I saw. And I don't know what the situation is.
Well, I've known this individual for almost 20 something, 28 years. And, looking back, I don't think he was exactly like this before.
Yeah.
So he's changed over the years. We were talking about this prior to the podcast, right?
Yes, when you're in a service industry dealing with customer service, that I believe a lot of times you can become cynical, you can become
Bitter,
cold, bitter.
bitter.
You
If
you
you let
care,
it,
yeah, you care less about, people, because you have so many interactions. It's not normal per se. We're not really maybe supposed to have that many interactions. That's one thing social media too. That's another issue with social media, is that that's not normal for you to be in contact with that many people. You're in contact with the people around you, the village, the people in your neighborhood. But now we're not in contact with the people in our neighborhood. But here's one thing that I wanted to bring up regarding this law. Um, the person that comes across that way, that they don't really care about your situation, and they only care about their self-interest. A part of me, thought, is that kind of like a narcissist type of character? Now, I'm not saying it is or not, but when people only care about themselves and their self-interest, I don't know if that kind of is like that type of character, narcissist type of individual. So you have to be careful with those, I think.
well, you have to be careful with everything because, for example, Jordan Peterson, who's been, I guess, accredited with one of the great minds of our century, right? He's a very learned man, and I have a great deal of respect for him. He says, you need to be careful when you're living a lie because you will become
Yeah,
that person,
yeah,
you will become that lie. So you need to stay true to yourself, I would say, in most instances.
right.
Stay true to who you are, your core, you know?
And that people sense that also.
I
They
think
feel
so.
that.
Being genuine has no comparison to anything else.
Right. Robert Greene would debate you on that.
Right,
And that's
right.
why I'm bringing another perspective, because you're talking about how you want to live your life and how you try to live your life. But we've all put on a mask, as Robert Greene says, and we all
Absolutely,
put
and
on a
so do I.
mask
Yeah,
every
in
day.
many cases, yeah.
And
So,
so in situations where
Yeah,
you
you're right.
don't genuinely care.
You're right.
You're
You're right.
better off still pretending that you do. Is what is what and I agree with him on that.
I agree too. You're absolutely correct. And I don't want to stray away from the laws. The law says, hey, if you have to lie, lie, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, it does in
yeah.
terms of gaining power or
In terms
keeping
of
it.
because these are power move. And he
Um
cites Marie Antoinette.
he does. And that was very interesting. And I looked a little bit more into Marie Antoinette, and which was the French queen, the last queen of France, right?
Yeah,
Because the
the
monarchy
the
ended
monarchy ended.
with her
Right,
execution at the guillotine, and her husband, King Louis the 16th.
right.
But one thing that was very interesting, and
She
look,
was guillotined in October 1793. Sorry.
1793, yeah,
Yeah.
the French Revolution. And one thing, and that's what I like, that Robert Greene takes us back to the
I
past.
mean, he's just a history buff to the maximum capacity.
And basically, we were talking about it earlier today, that in politics, it seems like these people, a lot of them have lost common sense. They've lost touch of like your fellow man, your normal individual, your layperson, because that's what happened with Marie Antoinette. She was born essentially a queen because she was at a young age. I think she was 14 when she was like already set to marry
Yeah,
the
Louis the 16th,
Louis
right?
the 16th.
Yeah.
And
Well, she was the granddaughter of the King of Austria or something like that.
yeah, she came from royalty as
Royalty,
well.
yeah.
And so her life was kind of already like set. So in doing a little bit more research, she was a certain way, but a lot of some of the research I was doing was saying that she was almost forced into being this way.
Oh,
Like,
yeah?
yeah, yeah, that
She knew no better.
she knew no better. When everybody's praising you, when everybody's giving you everything, when everybody's spoiling you and saying that you're the best, maybe she began to believe it. And it was another perspective on what Robert Greene painted, because Robert Greene painted a picture of a selfish individual that didn't care about the the working class
Well,
of
she was.
France, and that's how.
She was a selfish individual that then she thought that she didn't owe the people anything, that the
Correct.
people owed her all these,
Right.
because she's been indulged
That's
in
the thing. That's the thing.
since
How much of
childhood.
it is since childhood, like you were raised that way, you know? So I just thought that was interesting. It's a
Well, you
different
better take that to heart.
I think it's a different
You
perspective.
better take that to heart. And everybody out there that has children, you better take that to heart.
You can't spoil them too much.
Because if you spoke, well, too much or at all, how hard are you on a child? Because when you give everything to a kid, then that kid doesn't know the value of what they have. Because the simple point is that they didn't earn it, they didn't work for it, they didn't sweat for it. So it means nothing to them.
Right.
And look, I've heard this before many times. Um, the first generation builds it and potentially can create an empire. The second generation maintains it, and the third generation
Destroys it.
destroys it and spoils it. And why? Because the first guy busted himself or lady building it. That's the first generation.
Hmm.
The second generation was there to see that effort, maybe not totally involved in the efforts, but saw it, so they'll maintain it. But the third generation had nothing to do with it, and they got it for free, and they squander everything off. So I've heard that many times.
I've heard it. I'm interested to hear how the Rockefellers and the Carnegies
Carnegie gave it,
and
they got nothing,
the Gettys and all these people that have been able to. The Carnegies don't have anything.
nothing. The
Okay.
Carnegies split it all away.
So these, so that's not a good example. Then so I don't know the history of them, but these families that
They
have been
lost everything.
these families that have been able to maintain their wealth through generations.
The Rockefellers,
The Rockefellers.
the Kennedys,
Forgot Anderson Cooper's the descendant of one of these.
Carnegie.
No, I don't think it was the Carnegie.
I think it is. Look it up. That way we don't give baloney to our viewers. Which,
Eh,
by the way, you know what we should do? We
Cooper.
should try to reach out to Robert Greene and see if he would sit with us on an interview.
Let's do it.
We're growing our channel, which, and we've gone through his book, every chapter. We should do that. Let's
let's
do
do it.
that. That would
Anderson
be
Cooper is part.
epic for me.
Yeah, I'm down. Anderson Cooper is part of the famed Vanderbilt family.
Oh,
The
so I'm
Vanderbilts.
sorry. I'm sorry. I said Carnegie, Vanderbilt.
But the point
They're
is
the
that,
ones that squandered everything.
oh, the Vanderbilt.
Yeah,
Okay.
they got nothing.
So the point
In,
is that there are some families that have been able to maintain their wealth,
right.
and I find that interesting.
Well,
Um,
there's a guy on the internet. He's got three sons, and I think he's a farmer. They all look like cowboys, and he takes them out to the farm, and he's got three kids, and he says, "Look, guys, I built this for you guys. Okay,
yeah.
make sure you maintain it, but the problem lies with your kids." And one of the sons says to him, they're three boys, and they're all strong guys, they're farmers. And one of the guys says, "Don't worry about it, Dad. From the minute they can walk, they're going to be out on the farm working their butts off." And so it's a really nice, uh, what do you call it, nippet or whatever, small
Clip.
clip on the internet.
Yeah.
And it's very interesting, because I really believe that, you give them everything,
Yeah.
you spoil them, you create a
You
monster.
create a monster. That's what he said happened to Marie Antoinette.
Well,
She became like a monster.
and she
Um,
was like that until the bitter end.
or that's what they say. Yeah, but again, I did do a little bit more reading into it. Some people say that she wasn't that way. That she so I don't know. It's I mean, people do their own independent research, but the point is that she definitely was called the deficit queen
Yeah, that's right.
because of the spending that she uh, would the things that she would buy, the gowns, the balls she would throw, the parties, the masked balls. So the point is she was completely out of touch. That's why I brought even politicians into the mix because a lot of them seem to be out of touch. But one thing that I thought was interesting was this quote where it says it is so infuriating to meet a person with a person who makes no effort to seduce you or attempt to persuade you, even if only for the purpose of deception.
Wow.
It's infuriating. I've met with people that I can tell, and Robert Greene says, look at body language. I've met with people and I can tell they don't want to be talking to me. They're gone already. They're either their mind or they're already like they want to get out of the conversation.
So my question is, why are they there?
Well, some people they're there because
They have to
they
be?
feel it's polite to at least
Oh,
end the conversation, you know. But I can tell they're not there mentally. They're physically there. But we've all been in situations where we have something going on in our life, I think, and our mind is somewhere else. You know, my buddy, he's our buddy Sean. He's been in management, and he's had a lot of people working for him. And he says, "Look, when I'm talking to one of the people that's the staff, I make them feel like that's the for that 60 seconds that I'm talking to them, like there's nothing else going on in my mind. There's nothing else going on. The only thing that matters is our interaction. I try to make that and and he's in valet, when there's a client that pulls up to the hotel and they're expecting 5-star service, the same thing. The only thing that matters is for the 10-second interaction, since it's such a short interaction between the client and the valet, you have to make those 10 seconds count so much. So he does that in the way the body language that he shows, the attention, the eye contact, the questions that he asks.
yeah.
So I think you have to, if you can master making people feel like you actually care, and I like what you're saying, like actually do care. Don't just make them feel like you do, actually
Well,
care.
look, Sean, first of all, I love the kid and I saw him grow up, but he's your buddy. But Sean is very young and wise beyond his years. That's why he is with it. Some people have something special, and he does. Now, watch this. Um, what I'm saying is, in that moment, while you're listening to that person, if you put yourselves in that person's shoes, that is extremely important to them.
Mm-hmm.
The least you could do is listen to them, pay attention to what they're saying. And you might just walk away with a gold nugget. You might just learn something. Because when you listen to people is when you learn. When you are speaking, you don't learn. You're spilling out what you think you have made up your mind on this and that and whatever.
Yeah.
And one of the most important things is to be able to converse with someone and say, you know what? I never looked at that aspect of it. Maybe there's something there, you know? So when Sean says, during the time that I'm having this interaction, whether it's 60 seconds or 3 minutes, I'm fully focused in that moment and I'm making them feel like they are the only person in this universe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If the receiver of that becomes aware of it, you will transform that employee.
Yeah.
You will gain everything that that employee has to give and then
Absolutely.
some.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
will have a
Because
winner.
you're making them feel like you care,
And Marie
and
Antoinette didn't do any of that. In
no.
fact, when she was pushed over to Paris, she didn't even come out of the castle or the, whatever,
Mm-hmm.
to talk to the people, mingle with the people. She was way too beyond that,
Yeah.
when they call the uppity
She
and
had lost like that humanity. Like, she it seems that she was in this environment that was all the wealthiest, and you got everything you wanted, and you lost maybe some of the values that really mattered to the people, and so the people turned on her. That's what
of
happened.
course, of course. Well, there was that scandal with the biggest diamond bracelet in Europe,
Mm-hmm.
and I guess there was a trial and it was exposed her
That's
extravagant.
that's
And
that's what
the people are
exposed.
starving to death, and she's spending $20 million on a diamond necklace or whatever it was. Do your own research. I'm off on this, but it's. I mean, there's no connection, man. And
Yeah.
some of these people are totally oblivious to what you know.
Yeah. So that's you know I think really important. But but did she realize that she was so disconnected? Did she realize? I don't think so. I don't
No,
think she
probably
realized
not,
that.
because from what I've read, she was defiant all the way up until she was being guillotined.
Yeah.
So I don't think that she learned her lesson. And I think that because she was born into opulence and overwhelming wealth,
Yeah.
that she felt that the world owed her something,
Entitled.
entitled.
Yeah.
And that's a problem.
Yeah. I've come
I
across.
think. My personal opinion. That's, yeah.
Well, it didn't work out well for her.
Well, no,
It
she
didn't work
lost
out
her.
well for her because she became the focus of everybody's anger, and the France was not doing well economically, and she was the reason why. Everybody was blaming her. So that's what happened. Eventually, if you're this type of individual that really doesn't care or take care of the people around you, one day you'll be facing the
Well,
guillotine.
she became what's called a pariah. So no one came to her rescue.
Correct.
Not even her brother,
In the trials, yeah.
which at the time of her trial was the king of Austria.
Hmm.
So at the time that she was suffering all of this, her brother was the king of Austria. I'm pretty sure of this. And he didn't even flinch a hair to,
Yeah.
you know.
So I think it's important for us to, um like, I've met with some people, and I've told you this person really has no interest in anything we have to say. They are just want to talk. And it seems to happen with the elderly. They want to share everything that they've done, seen, their opinions. They know so much because they've lived so much that a lot of them, I'm not saying all the elderly, but as you become older, it seems you listen less. Not only because your hearing's going, but you just seem to listen less. You
You're
just
distracted.
you just want to share everything that you've done, and I mean, I called an individual the other day and we spoke for 30 minutes and he was sharing a lot about what his history and he's done and this and that. And I thought it was interesting, but it gets to a certain point where are you listening to anything that I'm saying? And it seems that some of these people, and you don't have to be old doing this, you could be a young person that really doesn't care. They just want to talk. And that's, I think, a problem in relationships and in terms of gaining power or keeping it because people feel this guy doesn't care about anything I have to say.
Well, so two things. I think the best salesman is the person who speaks the least.
Yeah,
Okay?
yeah,
The best salesman is the person who hears the most. Okay? That's number one. And number two, what you just described has a turning off effect because the minute that the other person realizes that the person he's engaged in a conversation with doesn't care about what your situation is or what you're trying to convey, at least for me, it turns me off. I have a turning off effect where I'll say, okay, well, I'm gonna end this pretty quick, and so
yeah,
that's the way I do it. You know.
yeah. I mean, even there's one person I think that I think of when we're talking about this that I told you I don't really have an interest in talking to that individual,
Right.
you know? And you tried to maintain, and I don't think you have either too much in touch with them, but they're just, they don't let you get a word in.
No, that gets old real fast.
Yeah. But it's not only like something for the elderly. I just brought that up because I've seen,
It's not just on the elderly.
no,
No,
it's not. But
no,
I
it's not.
just have seen it occur often in my interactions with people that are older. But no, it doesn't. It could be
Well,
anybody.
we're involved in real estate, but as you know, I own an insurance agency. Many a time, okay, when people call in for making a payment over the phone and they're elderly, they want to talk
Yeah,
because they have nobody to talk to.
that could be another thing, you know?
And you have to be, you don't have to be, okay, but I choose to be a little bit compassionate because I feel for them.
But the reality is you're not taking those
I'm not
calls
taking those calls
often.
anymore, and I haven't for a long time,
So,
for years actually.
yeah. So, I mean, if you're getting that every day,
No, it's a
people,
problem. It cuts into your productivity. And at some
well,
point,
that
you need
too.
to, well, yeah, because you can't spend, when you do the math, and I have done it, how many calls can a person take a day? A staff member, how many calls can they take a day? Okay. And then produce any kind of, uh, because you need to sell, right? At the end of the
Yeah.
day, you need to have revenue that comes into the business to support the business. So how many calls can you take a day?
Yeah.
So if you get four of those calls and they take 30 minutes, that's
No.
2 hours knocked off of your day.
No, I think if you become really good at what you do, you can make somebody feel heard and but
Absolutely.
you're also able to let them know that, you know what, I do need to take another call or I need to
I've
get
got
to,
somebody waiting on line two. I apologize,
yeah,
Mr.
like
Smith.
there's ways to do it where the person doesn't feel that, oh my God,
Correct.
they just cut me abruptly.
Right. Right.
Ignore the hearts and minds of others and they will grow to hate you.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, I mean, I just think I'm thinking of different interactions with different people that I know that I feel it's very one-sided. I don't hate that person, but I just have no interest in doing business with that person or really being in touch with that person. You said it earlier today when we were talking, a relationship goes both ways.
Correct.
You know, because I was bringing up individual and I said this person, it seemed that they didn't want to have a relationship with this part with the family.
Correct.
They kind of kept to themselves. And then you said, well, yeah, because a relationship goes both ways. It can't be I want to have a, you know, a good
Yeah,
relationship
you
with
can't
you.
force yourself. That goes for everything.
Yeah.
Marriage, friendship, family, business.
Yeah.
Anytime you try to force yourself on the other party, it won't work well.
No.
It won't, you know?
Yeah,
I was gonna say something and it slipped my mind, but
about the relationships
yeah, maybe I'll get it back.
being one-sided. The other thing I thought this law has is related to the law that we went over about the fortress, where you shouldn't isolation is dangerous,
It is.
and it kind of reminds me a little bit about that because the royalty, in this case Marie Antoinette, isolated herself from like the normal people, the public, and I feel that that ended up costing her her life because so it kind of I feel goes hand in hand with that one. Trying to see which law was oh, here it is, law 18.
Law
Do not
18.
build fortresses to protect yourself. Isolation is dangerous. So I think that kind of goes in hand because when you isolate, you're not having these interactions with people, and maybe you lose the ability to interact with people. I remember when the pandemic happened, we stopped going to a lot of we stopped going to a lot of different events that we would interact with people. And then it's a skill set. So if you're not sharpening that knife, when the pandemic passed and we started going out again, it was a little I had to get back into the groove of okay, you go up to people, you shake their hands, you make eye contact, all that stuff because the pandemic made us recluse. It made us it put fear in us and we
Sure.
were alone in our homes.
Yeah,
So we
absolutely.
had to go back to becoming social creatures.
Absolutely, absolutely. And then
So
um, because we have been in customer service,
the business world.
the business world, customer service, we have a different perspective on things.
Yeah.
We know for a fact that relationships is extremely important in the success of just about everybody that's trying to reach some type of height.
Yeah.
First of all, you cannot do it alone. You need a team, and you need to empower that team with the vision that you have. Okay? Um, but there are some people out there when you approach them and you can feel that they're just not interested at all in what you have to say or do or whatever. And how do you build a relationship with that? You can't. And I'm talking about business, but the same happens with marriage, children. I mean, you
Yeah.
know, I see it in my own grandkids. One of them is super interested in one thing, and the other one is not interested in that thing at all. So
Yeah.
they have different directions that they are going to follow, and that's just
I th-
human nature.
I think one of the things that has allowed us to be successful in building relationships in business and outside is that you and I are interested in people. We're curious to learn about people. For me, one of the most mm, inspiring things and one of the things I love the most is hearing somebody's story. You know, how they came to be in the career they're in, how they fell into that specific industry, how they got to this country, how they those stories to me are really, really powerful and I feed off of them. And I think that if you don't have that in business, you need to develop it. If you don't have this curiosity or interest in people, because you're gonna need to, whether it's an employee of yours or a or someone you're trying to build a relationship with that you want to buy their business. You've been able to buy businesses because the person was retiring and they gave you an opportunity. We've
Right.
been able to buy property because this person said, you know what, out of the people that I have, or the pool of people to sell it to, I choose to sell it to you guys. You know, and that's from establishing some sort of relationship with this person, rapport.
Rapport.
Yeah.
Well, I remember what I wanted to say
Okay.
because I got my string of thought again, or
Okay.
but um, so we're in the real estate business,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of times I call a realtor, but it could be anybody else. Okay. It just so happens that we're in the real estate business, but it could be someone in the medical field, whatever.
Yeah.
Okay. And ring, ring. And I say, hello, is this with this person? Hi, my name is so and so. And I introduce myself. And sometimes I even get interrupted. And it's not a long winded thing. Hi, my name is so and so. And how can I help you? Oh, yeah, yeah. Okay. How can I help you? When you get that kind of reply,
Hmm.
you know, when you're saying good morning, how are you, and yes, how can I help you?
You
I
get
mean,
cut off.
like that. They're only interested in making that deal work. They're not interested in a relationship or anything like that. And then when you do get somebody that says, yes, thank you for calling, blah, 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 a little bit of courtesy that is injected just in the 10 seconds that you have this interaction, it's a breath of fresh air. And I'll tell you what, it's a testament to the person that you're working with, because my experience in real estate is that the guy that says, yes, how can I help you? If you end up opening an escrow with that guy, you potentially have a headache. Not 100% of the time, folks.
There's a
This is
word for
not a,
that. Do you
and
know what that word is?
what?
Transactional.
Transaction.
Transactional.
Transactional.
That's it.
That's it.
Transactional. They just want to close the deal, make the money, move on.
That's it.
No interest in building relationships.
And you know what? You need to deal with those people too, and you cannot be judgmental. So there's something to be said about that. So, hey, if that's you're representing your buyer or your seller, you have to go through it. And
I would,
that's the beauty of human nature,
but
dealing
you
with
have
these
been
kind of people.
you have been able to turn somebody like that into somebody who opens up. And that's where I
Sometimes.
think sometimes that's what I'm saying. You've been able to do it before.
Yeah.
And so that's where I think Robert Greene is saying, like, you need to know the person's psychology, the weaknesses, the fears, what the desires are. And maybe in talking to that person, if you're able to figure something, pull something out, I've seen you do it where somebody was extremely short and they open up to you.
Right,
And
right,
and so there's that hope that just because they open up that way, don't give up there.
right,
Because I bet you 99% of people stop there.
right.
Oh, this guy's this way. But maybe they're that way because they just got a notice that a family member's about to pass away. Maybe they
Correct.
whatever's happening in their life
You
that
never know what the other person is going through.
and so you give the person maybe the benefit of the doubt, maybe once, twice.
Hmm.
But yeah, I've seen you do it. You can turn those people around. If it benefits you, if it's worth doing it for you, if all of that comes into play.
Yeah. Well, look, just this weekend, something very nice happened at a restaurant where I went to a restaurant, and it's a restaurant that we go to often, Mom and I said, hi, we don't have a reservation today. Are you able to sit us pretty quick?
Yeah.
And the lady in the front, very courteously, very nicely, said, no, I'm sorry, sir. There's a 45-minute wait. And I said, okay, all right, thank you very much. And I turned and I took a step. And then I hear someone say, Mr. And she said my last name. Okay. Um, Somebody else. Come on in, we're going to set you right away. And not only did she set us right away, she got us a waitress immediately for us. And that was super nice. When something like that happens, I cannot let it go by without showing my appreciation. So
Yeah.
what did we do? We sent an email to the supervisor saying, you know why we come here? Because of them. We keep coming back because of this person. And we named her in the email. And I said, you should go up to her and congratulate her because she's doing an exceptional job and this and that and whatever. Not because she sat us down, Mike, okay? But because you went beyond the call of duty. She'll do that with somebody else. It's
Right.
not because you feel I'm super important, because that's not the case. And if you feel that, you missed the boat,
No.
because that's not what it's all about. It's about building relationships.
Correct.
And she was trying to build a relationship with us. You
Kudos
see?
to her. Kudos to her.
Kudos to her.
Yeah.
And there's a lot
See,
of
but
people like
you're
that.
the type of individual that now you write an email
I did. I sent it
and you say
already.
thank you to the management. You're
And
the
I
type
told
of
them that she should be.
you're the type of individual that when something like that, a good interaction happens, you let them know. The manager at another place we went to, you know, you said thank you. You let them know. You said, "Hey, I'm gonna put something up and let the people know, their management, that you did a great job, great service." So people appreciate that, and that's building that rapport and showing that you care.
And it's just simple business etiquette. Return your
Well,
calls.
yeah,
If you tell somebody you're going to call them, call them. Like right now, I feel bad with a lady that I said, I'm going to call you in 2 hours. And
you
guess
didn't call.
what? I didn't.
All right, after this podcast, you better call her.
That's right. She's on the back of my mind because when I say I want to do something,
Do it.
it's just simple business etiquette. You tell them you're going to call them. By all means, call them. Now, this lady, I didn't call back. You know,
No good.
not good. So you're looking at someone that,
It's
it's
flawed.
absolutely,
We all are.
the minute you think that you're, high and mighty or whatever, you lose
You
because
get guillotined.
you get guillotined.
Um, um, it does. It eventually happens to everybody. Um, so
Be genuine. Be genuine
if
with
you can,
people.
if you can,
Oh, yeah. Well, look, it's easy to tell somebody, you're ugly, but you say it nicely.
mm-hmm.
Like there's a platform on the internet where the guy says, "How do you say you're not interested in this job?" And the guy that they're speaking to is an attorney. Like he says, how do you tell someone, one of your staff, that you did a lousy job? And he comes up in the most, you could have potentially done a little bit better job if you would have done more research. He puts it in a way where it's just, you're
Yeah,
telling him, hey, you did a lousy job, but
tactfully.
very tactfully. So there's ways to talk to people
Yeah, and some people want it straight.
straight. They don't
Some
want any
people, so you
flowers.
need to read the person. Some people are like, they don't want to hear all that. Nah, nah, nah. No, just tell me what I did wrong, how I can fix it. Boom. So you gotta know when and how. Um, that's Law 43.
Law 43.
Thank you everybody for listening. Like, subscribe, share it. We're almost at 1,000 subscribers. We're on our way. And we're gonna be picking our next topic after we finish the 48 laws. Anything else you wanna
Oh
close
no,
up with?
that's good. If you guys can tell us, what book you want us to review or whatever.
Yeah,
That way we can start reading it now.
cool.
All right.
All right, thank you.